systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another PGA show. This week, the RBC Canadian Open, my home country open. It's like a major here. I got my guy Hoopster here with me. As always, going to break things down for you guys. Ownership, roster construction, go through the tiers, keeper cut. We'll have some fun with it. But want to say what's up first to Hoop. I'll bring you in, man. What's going on? How was your week? We're Fantasy Golf World Championship enemies this week. Friends, but enemies. We're up against each other in the same contest. Many others out there in the chat as well.
Yeah, just, always rooting for my boys to get through. So, I mean, I have 2 teams. You have 3. I'm rooting for the ToeTagginTambo teams to get there. I'm rooting for the Hoop 2410 teams to get there as well. And, hopefully we can continue to advance. And one of us is holding the check here in my hometown of Detroit. Hopefully it's me. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm rooting for you, but when it comes to holding the big boy check, I'm rooting for myself over you. But if it's not me, I'd be glad to be standing by your side as you hold that big check. But I have a feeling it just seems like destiny, right? It seems like it's going to happen. The whole thing, so much good momentum here at SHIPIT Nation. Everything's just cruising along. You and I get the seats early. I kind of, you and I were battling for one of my seats. I know you get the 3 the last week. Just seems like destiny, man. It's going to be you or I holding that check. I feel really good about that.
Perfect time. And by the way, it kicks off in Canada and it ends in Michigan.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Now, it's getting, now it's adding up a little bit more. Yeah, that's right.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I got to say, speaking of Canada, we always talk to the first in. Michael Marcourt, he says, Canada, ship it. What's y'all's 1 to 2 week trial deal? We'll go through the deals and stuff in a minute and how you can get in. But born in Amherst, Nova Scotia, that's actually very close by. Enemies of where my mom comes from, the blueberry capital of the country in Oxford, Nova Scotia. So shout out to Michael. That one hits a little close to home. Shout out to Jordan. He's in here. Jordan was not first in for this show, but he was first in to the FGWC. He got the first seat available. I got one of the last. So that's sort of coming full circle. Our guy B-Wald is here with us as always. Shout out to Joanne. We're keeping, as the other shows say, the female viewership is up. Thanks to Joanne. Evan's here with us. Michael, Eric, Camara Bro, Go Collect, Bring the Noise, Kenny, all kinds of people. Appreciate all you guys just joining us now. Lots of other people hopping in as we get into the mix here, Hoop. But let's talk about everything first off the top. Our guy Hebrew, I see him in there now.
Playing some favoritism here. I see where Hebrew's at. Hebrew, good luck this week, Tambo.
Oh, yeah.
He's running for Tambo.
Yeah, he knows. Appreciate
He's got Tambo over Hoop.
That's the one. I will say quick, we'll get through it fast here, but it was a pretty big week last week at the Nation. We obviously had the Course Fit rankings just go off. Are we doing a Course Fit rankings tease today? Like, what do we need? 150 likes?
Yeah, that's been the standard number to get to the 150, and we'll show it off a little bit.
Yeah, show the top 5.
Yeah, you gotta give. I mean, I missed the Monday show, obviously traveling back from a baseball tournament for my son, but have to give the shout out to my guy Lee Aldrich. Just continues to just crush, man. I mean, his stuff is so on point. We talk about it every week. He gets it out so early in the week, so people have something to look at. A true grinder, and man, just really appreciate everything he's doing. That Davis Riley call is phenomenal. I mean, I had way over the field on Davis Riley. Didn't have the right combinations, obviously. You got the job done there, but you look at it, he was like 1 to 2% across the board in all contests, and Lee had him right up there as the number 1. I mean, and then you go down the list, like Scotty was there, Finau, Silverman, I believe, had a good week as well. Ryan Fox did something. Like, it's very impressive. I mean, this tool has been absolutely on point, just on point. And, he gets it out early, like I said, too. So he's got something good going on there. And it's awesome to see. And I know our members are loving it. I'm loving it. I mean, Davis Riley is a guy we talk about frequently on the show. A couple years ago looked really promising, then fell off a cliff and really hasn't done much since. And Lee's system puts him number 1, just randomly number 1. And he's the guy that you need Like, he's the guy that goes and wins the tournament. Just absolutely incredible stuff. I mean, really. And again, this is, a great outcome, but he's been right on with some of these other guys throughout the season too. This isn't just a one-off.
Number one.
Yeah,
when he won, he had Pendrith, number two. When he won in the swing season, I did the exact same thing. And people talk about this all the time. We talked about it plenty, but just, you're looking for these spike weeks. I've talked about it on a couple other shows this week, but this is the whole point. If you mix some of these lineups into your mix, I've had like 2 or 3 spike weeks already just using these course fit rankings. We use what we say. We brought in Lee. I knew him from FanShare Sports when they closed up shop. I reached out to Lee. I said, you got to come over. Let's bring your stuff over here. We'll get you into the mix. And he's been incredible. Everybody loves him. Our guy Kenny right there said $5 into 1,000. There was a ton of big winners last week, but I just showed this one because on mine, I kept it all together. Give Lee all the credit. He said he changed them up a little. He said, I think you're going to like this. I actually questioned it in the chat and said, I'm not so sure. I said, I liked what you had. It was already really good. How can it get better? And then he spikes this right back in our face and says, Riley winning. You said it. Scheffler, Finau, Silverman. Who else? The other guy, Lee Hodges I think Lee Hodges was 24th. He's not shown here, but McNeely was 14th. Adam Scott came 12th. Ryan Fox and Cam Davis made the weekend, and we're fine. Zach Johnson also had a good week at 5,800. It wasn't a great week, but it was like made a cut, did his thing when you really don't expect these types of guys to do it. And Nick said it. Yeah, sometimes you got to get lucky. And that was what was required. A Ben Silverman chip in off the green down the stretch to make the cut, and then piles in a 3-under bogey free on Saturday and a pretty good Sunday, considering what everybody else did around him. So congrats again to everybody out there. Thanks to Lee. Again, if you guys want to get in on the action, you can go over here to SHIPIT Nation, PGA. All Degenerate 75 stuff is still just pumping. And that's, I said to Hoop before the show, at this point, it's not bias as much as I just say, if you're not a PGA member, at least, even if you're not just getting in for PGA only, you are missing out. You can just see the leaderboards week in, week out. Yeah. Look at those showdown slates, especially showdown with the stone, the slate plan, the projections, everything piled together, the stone for the main slate, all the stuff we talked about with Lee. That's outside of the normal core report, value report, top plays, things that these other sites have as well. We've got it, but this is huge. And then if you are a member and you happen to be in the Fantasy Golf World Championship like Hoop and I can't stress this enough, but just to look at it, we actually literally cover the 3-round playdown. So there's no other site out there that you can find anything like that about the secrets of satellites being able to get in to these events. And then on top of it, what you do after you qualify, how you handle the 3 rounds. And then if you're lucky enough to get to the live final, these are the things we're actually covering already that you're just not finding at any other site out there. So I'll say it again. If you join up right now, the time is now $39, gets you in. It's just over $1 a day, but it's the best time because Canadian Open this week, you get Memorial, big signature event next week. You get the US Open. The week after that is a major. And then the Travelers, which is the week after that, just happens to be a signature event again. So there's huge contests 3 of the next 4 weeks. And this week's kind of being the smallest, but this is one of the better weeks. I'm excited when we get into talk about Hoop. Anything else you wanted to add on this stuff before we get into talking RBC Canadian Open?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I'd say, like with the Davis Riley thing last week, like if I saw somebody that had a piece of content, a model, a system that had Davis Riley as the number 1 course fit and he goes out and does what he does, like I would have to, I mean, again, I would just have to see what it's all about. And that's why our prices are so low. You can come in and not feel bad about coming to look at what Lee has for this week. Very cheap price tag. It's not like we're saying, hey, come on in, you got to pay $200 a month to see what Lee has for this week. But I would just have to come check it out, like no matter what. Like I've done it before where people have good calls. You go to a content site, you check it out, and you kind of get hooked. That's one reason why we keep our prices so low. So if you do like something you see out there, you can come in and give it a try for a super, super low price tag.
Yeah, I'll go back to it here real quick just to show it off. We only got about a minute left in the marketing minute, as I like to call it, but $39, $1 a day. If you do try the weekly, it'll get you this week and next for $1 a day because you essentially get 2 weeks leading up to next Wednesday, but you don't get Discord. And then don't forget right now, if you go monthly or annual, you do also get Shiptimizer. So we'll have more on this in the future, but right now the PGA Optimizer that we've got set up is for you to be able to use if you have a monthly membership. So if you do the monthly, you get access to Shiptimizer as well. It covers the main slate, round 1, late round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. All of our projections and ceiling and ownership are preloaded, so you don't have to do anything. This is included as well. Most sites are charging $25 a month just for this. Our $39 comes with a month of all the other stuff we talked about, plus this. So the time is now. Go to SHIPITNation.com and join. One more quick thing, and then we'll move on. But just the logo contest, it's coming up for month 2. We said we would run a 12-month contest. We're only 2 months in, so plenty of months to go. But whether you're a member or not, it's free to go to SHIPITNation.com, hit these 3 dots, go down to logos, pick your logo, and upload it. We give away $500 every month to someone who tags us on Twitter with the logo, or in the Discord, if you are a member, has an additional bonus. And then the other $250 or $200, is for anyone 5,000 and up. So we give a couple different ways that you can win, but you got to have the logo. So go check that out. That's going to do it, Hoop. We can hop right into it now. I'll turn this off. If we have anything else come up as we go along, hit that like button if you guys want to see those course fit rankings. But let's talk about the RBC Canadian Open, Hoop. We're 10 minutes in. We'll get to it. The weather looks pristine. I mean, there's some stuff. I put a few things in the slate plan. Mayo and I talked about it earlier today. The weather looks pristine. Our guy Deep Fat will be in the Discord talking it up more and posting some stuff out there. But anything on the weather, and then if not, just talk to me a little bit about this course and things that you're looking for this week when it comes to golfers.
Not seeing anything on the weather front. I think, it looks solid. Thursday morning looks like it's going to be a little windy, but it's not going to change much in the afternoon. I'm just playing it straight up. And like we always say, we always talk about it. If you want to do the wave stacks, just do it to try to find some sort of advantage that we're not seeing. But in terms of the weather dictating how I play it, it's just going to be straight up. The initial thoughts from me on the slate, definitely Rory's just too cheap. I mean, it's 3 or 4 to 1 to win this event. He's coming in at 12-1, and we have the $5,000 range. This is, to me, a price tag as if we didn't have the $5,000 range, but we do have the $5,000 range. That's why he's coming in at such high ownership. He should be 13,000, 13.3, 13.5. Force people to make some sacrifices in their lineups if they want to play Rory. You plug them in, you still have basically like $7,600 per spot. You can make a lot work. When you start comparing him to other guys in the top tier, he could come out and be T10, T12 and still be the guy that you need in your lineups, just the way this is shaking out with ownership and other guys around him this much. So I think it's a kind of drop the ball. And I'm no Rory fan, don't get me wrong, but man, when you put him in this field, really there's nobody else. Theegala is the next guy. Rory McIlroy is always in this upper tier. The next most expensive guy is Theegala, who in a normal field, a more loaded field, is going to be like the 8K range. So he's seeing like a $2,500 price increase to where we typically see him. This is where Rory's always at. He should be way more expensive in this field. So that's one disappointing thing. I'd say it just means the ownership on Rory is going to be through the roof this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be up there for sure. It's going to be similar, but not quite the same. I wrote about it in the slate plan over on the site, just in relation to last week versus this week. But I do think, to your point, it's so easy to get there. And I like the way you framed it up there. In a regular, no matter what the field was, Rory would fall in around this price tag. Even if it was a loaded field, he'd be 11.5 to 12.1 range, and he's 12.1. But there's no Scotty, so that should have boosted him some. And then on top of it, in those same fields, Theegala, Fleetwood, Lowry, Noren, these guys all would be like 8,500, 9K, whatever. Like they are auto boosted. I do think people feel more comfortable with Theegala, Fleetwood, Lowry, Noren, Connors this week to be able to start with a balanced build with Connors or using one of Theegala, Fleetwood, Lowry, Noren up above. So I do think we'll talk through that when we get there as well. Love this comment from Austin, says, came over to the nation with DGen as a golf guy, and now have an NBA and MLB takedown in the last 2 weeks. Appreciate and love all the content, you guys. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? When you come over, you may just come over for golf. I always say, like, get in on the sport you want, but when you see what it's all about, we've done a great job just being able to frame it up to make people understand that you can always upgrade at any time. It's prorated, so you don't have to wait for it to run out to hop in. If you love what you see after the first week, you can upgrade your PGA-only membership to all access and start getting the other sports. We've got MMA pay-per-view this weekend. We've got NBA with our guy Hebrew, who was in here earlier, running that show, getting it done, always crushing in there. And then the baseball team we have is phenomenal. Those guys all working hard day in, day out to get the job done there. We've got a Stone for baseball now. We've got all kinds of stuff going on when it comes to these other sports. So check that out. I don't know. Go Collect says, not sure about clicking a 40% Rory. I mean, we aren't talking about Scotty. I do think
Agreed.
that is
Yeah.
the one point people are making. I'll let you go. I just will say quickly is I think that's kind of the only difference I see this week is people do like Thigala, Fleetwood, Lowry, Noren more than last week. It was kind of like Morikawa maybe. And then after that, we don't really love these guys. So that made for a little bit different scenario. Go ahead, Hoop. What was your thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, again, I'm no fan of Rory. Don't get me wrong. And is it going to feel gross clicking that name at a high rate this week? Yes, but man, it's more than just not liking Rory. It's more than thinking he's a little overrated or whatever it may be. Whatever your thoughts are on Rory, to me, you got to think almost beyond that and really start comparing him to the other options and the other builds. If you don't go, you're going to really have to sell yourself on some of these guys in the 9K range or the upper eights, because if you pass on Rory, you're going to be hammering Thigala, Fleetwood, 9K guys, 8K guys. And again, I'm looking at Rory and what is his floor, realistic floor in this event? Like, yes, could he go out and miss a cut? Absolutely. But you can't peg him for a missed cut in the spot. So, like, what is his floor? To me, it's probably like, I don't know, 15 or something. Like, if he goes out and just doesn't completely shit the bed, he's going to finish 15th. And in my eyes, him finishing 15th, yeah, are you going to win the $25 event, the huge, $200,000 up top event on DraftKings? Probably not, but you still have a chance to make decent money on a lot of your lineups if Rory finishes like 15th. And I think that's his realistic floor in this field, all things considered.
Yeah, Alex was awesome on Monday, subbing in for the First Look show, and he brought up a good point too for those that didn't watch that or maybe just only watch this show. I mean, his point was pretty standard, but I liked it because it was like a way to frame it up better for people. But it's not just what the guys at the top do; it's what the guys around them do. But that's the obvious. But then it's also what is the pricing giving you? And you keep mentioning it. It's so true. When you're putting 117 guys from 6K down to 5K, there is just a ton of options. So in something like the lottery, to your point, it's, you're still going to have ways to get there. Like if Rory goes off this week, there's going to be a combination of people having him because there's just so many guys down there that fit those Rory builds. So I definitely like that. I will talk about this quickly because we're not about the plays and the picks and all that versus actual strategy and conversation. This is one that from the day I met James, him and I have talked about, and I agree with what he teaches because I think for most beginner players that you should be making stands and making a decision. In this case, where I take it to what I would call a more intermediate or advanced level is I can play 40% Rory and be above 40% Rory on the field. Not factually, because the math is the math. My argument is of the 40% Rory builds, if you have 100,000 lineups in a field and 40,000 are Rory builds, I think like 15,000 are dead on arrival because they're built terribly to win a large field tournament. So my point is Rory's not actually 40% beyond a number on paper. I could be 40% Rory with all different builds that don't run into that scenario and be overweight the field on good Rory lineups, if that makes sense. Another example would be to flip it. People say there's no way you can play a Mac Meisner at 10%. And I get it. And in a vacuum, in a matchup bet down there, when everyone around him is 0.5 or 1%, I don't disagree. But I showed it today on the Mayo show. When we know Meisner is going to be in a ton of Rory lineups and a ton of Thigala and Fleetwood and Lowry lineups, when you use him in lineups that start with Cam Young and nobody above him, and with a guy like Cam Young that's going to get kind of squeezed there a little bit, then you're already different with him. So you're not actually following what the field is doing or paying the rake. But I do agree with the philosophy of making that stand in general. Like you should be taking stands, picking your pool, and not trying to sprinkle everybody. But I'm comfortable playing the field on Rory or somewhere around that level and thinking that and knowing that my lineups are actually built in a different way that gives me more EV to get to the top of a tournament field of that size and not the chalk Rory builds that everybody else is playing in large field stuff. Anything to add on that, Hoop, with just exposures? Because you put your actual exposures on the site for your player pool.
Yeah, it'll be up there in my player pool. I have the top 30 listed. I'll be adding in my exposures probably later this afternoon when I start building. But is that the real number on that Meisner dude? 10%? I can't imagine it's that high. You think it's that high, huh?
It could be 7 to 10. I don't care. I'm just saying it's high stakes. Definitely going to be higher. Like in the Fantasy Golf World Championship, I think we see Meisner get into the double digits for sure.
What's his price?
6,500, which is also interesting. It's not like 5K flat. This guy is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to be that. But again, who knows? We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, that is a interesting point. But I agree with other stuff you were saying for sure.
Yeah, a lot of strong players still are going to play Rory to the field and just build their lineups differently with Rory. Like you can build what if I have 40% Rory lineups, I am matching the field. But what if I play 7K guys in my 40% line in my Rory lineups? There's no way the field is playing like that. They have at least 2 7K guys in there, and that would just be a unique way to do it. I'd be taking on more risk probably, but at the end of the day, that's kind of the case. Our guy Monday says the Stone has Meisner at 8%. I can definitely see 7 to 10, like I said, and I think 10% plus very easily in the high stakes, smaller field stuff. So, and yeah, Deacon, we appreciate you. That's what it's always going to be about here. The tiers, everybody does them. We do them as well. We'll do some keeper cut to have some fun, but I care way more about attacking the field that we're playing in to try and win the most money possible against said field than I do about this guy versus that guy. And that's how you do it. And for sure, that's why I, really coined that originally. It's not who you play, it's how you play them. There is ways to get different if you are stuck. Like Hoop always says, I went back and rewatched the education course this week, and during the FGWC conversation, he says, if you only have one entry, shout out to our guy Newens, back off the top, got the first seat. Don't go down on a guy at 12% that you're going to say, I'm going to play this guy because he's 12%. Then you find out he was 15 anyway, or 16 anyway. And the only reason you pivoted off a guy you wanted to play was because of ownership. Like it's 150 is the same as first this week in something like the Fantasy Golf World Championship on a regular week to week. You want to make sure you're still playing accordingly. But I just do say, like all the time, it's going to be Rory. Then it's going to be the next range of a couple guys in the 20s. And then it's going to be 15% or 17% or less on a giant pool of guys. That's where you can get overweight. That's where you can get different. Anything else to add on that, Hoop? If not, other guys at the top, Lowry, Fleetwood, Thigala, any of those guys interest you?
Yeah, I mean, Thigala, I think, is always, a boom or bust type play. Like, he has winning upside. He has 50th, the potential to finish like 50th place, or even potentially miss the cut. He's obviously made, I think, almost every cut this year. So maybe missing the cut is not in the realm of possibilities, but he has low floor, high ceiling, good for GPPs. Tommy Fleetwood at 10-3, it's like just a tough price for me to click. 10-3 for Fleetwood. And again, it's the same conversations we had like last week. When you play Fleetwood, you're in a sense sacrificing some Rory McIlroy lineup. So like if you really, really like Rory this week, you want to get over the weight, the more Fleetwood you get, the less Rory you're going to get. And again, I haven't built this week. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Fleetwood. And I guess, we'll just go right to the keeper cut. I mean, he is my keeper cut in this range because I don't know what I'm going to do with Fleetwood. I got to see. Do I really want to sacrifice Rory lineups to get in some Fleetwood? Have to see. And then Shane Lowry at 10-1. I don't care. If Shane Lowry beats me at 10-1, he beats me at 10-1. We move on to what's the event next week?
The Memorial.
Yeah, we move on to the Memorial. Like if Shane Lowry wins this thing and I lose money, that's fine. I'll take my medicine, move on, and try to find the winners next week at the Memorial. It's the game we play. So if Lowry beats me, I'm cool with that. I'll move on. Definitely going to be big on Rory, big on I don't know how big on Thigala. I will play Thigala than Fleetwood. Not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing with Fleetwood this week. So pretty clear range for me.
Yeah, I'm fine with Fleetwood, so I would keep him, but I'm interested to see what everybody else says. Just so everybody knows right now, the update, just about 40 likes. So we got to get to 150 likes before the end to show off those course fit rankings. If you're watching it for that, if you're watching it on replay, do us a favor, smash that like, subscribe to the channel. We're just about 290-ish away from giving away the annual PGA membership. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already. It's going to be part of the subscriber group that goes on and is in the draw for the annual PGA membership. I like Thigala as well. I said this today with Mayo. I definitely could see Thigala rocking the Canadian flag at the end, just the honorary Canadian for the week. And everybody loves Thigala, get that pep in his step. He sort of has the game for anywhere. But, we went back and forth on the boom bust of him. I still think he kind of is boom bust, but 12th, then 52nd, the team event, who cares? But then a second, 45th, and a 28th, but then a 9th and a 6th. Like, you know what you're getting with him, but at least there's somewhat a discount there, $1,600. So I think it's going to be Thigala, in the mix there. So we have seen two Hoop, because we're about to go to the 9K range. this upper 9K and above type range is the guys that you see a lot of these lineups, right? Like in these winning lineups at the RBC Canadian Open, you see a lot of studs land near the top and separate themselves from the field. So I do think that's interesting. And I was just going to bring up Billy's question. So go ahead on that one.
You can. Yeah, you certainly can. I mean, you go in there and you plug in Rory, you plug in Fleetwood, and let's say you find a 5K guy you like. I plugged in a random 5.5K guy. Who is this? I don't know. Robert T. Lee. So I got Robert T. Lee in there. I'm all the way back up to 7,400. So you can definitely make it work this week. There's no doubt. I mean, it's different than a couple of weeks ago where who was it, like Scotty and Morikawa were way up there, and it was like 13K and 11K. $2,000 cheaper on that. It's 12K and 10K, and we have a 5K range and playable 6K guys. So you can definitely go that route. And if I do decide to keep Tommy, I probably will have some of those combinations in my 150.
Yeah, I think the overall was keep on Tommy. So just so you know, people like Tommy. I do think that's good here. Austin says he loves the boom potential. Theegala, we've also seen chipping everything in lately, and the talk of how important around the green is in general. Definitely think that's a way to go. I don't think it will be as popular.
Usually not, and it's a general rule. It just usually is not. Like no matter what, like people just don't feel comfortable doing it. So double spends, I don't see it being popular this week.
What do you think has more chance of happening? The all-Canadian team, or the heavy-loaded Canadian team, or the heavy-loaded Euro team with Rory?
You know me, I always favor the Canadians. I mean, you're my boy, obviously, and then the PGA Tour guys like that. I mean, I'm always on the Canadian dudes. My guys, Corey Connors, got Svensson in here. I'm always Team Canada.
Shout out to Pam, the female contingent rising on here. I got to check the numbers just to see, but shout out to Pam. But I do think that is a scary as well. Like a guy like Lowry, you got to make putts here too. It's just, does he get hot? He's been good in Canada in the past. Obviously, this course last played in 2019, but just a general at Canadian Opens, he's seemed to show up. Same with Rory. That crowd gets behind him. So the two teammates from the win at the Zurich Classic, maybe it's those two battling down the stretch. Who knows? But it is scary with that recent form on the putter. Let's move on. Let's go to this 9K range hoop, and there is a grand total of 6 golfers in the 9K range. Like, just talk about the laziness again. Back to the top. Rory 12-1 with a 5K range, no Scotty. 9K range, 8K range, and 7K range might be like 35 guys. And then they throw 120-ish or 115 plus down at the bottom. Just, figure it out. It's fine. But everyone plays with the same stuff. It's just funny that that's the way it goes. But literally only 6 guys from Noren down to my guy, Adam Scott, to talk about here. Any thoughts on this 9K range and how we can go about utilizing it?
Yeah, the pricing stuff definitely be a little bit frustrating, but it's a clear range for me. Like Noren is just playing so well right now on an absolute heater, playing the best golf I'd say of his career. The results recently have been phenomenal. Cam Young, I'm always interested in Cam Young, and just with the guys around him, you have to imagine he has a chance to get squeezed a little bit at 9,800. And the results have not been great for him by any means. It looked like he's rounding into form around the Masters time, and then 62nd at RBC, 34th at the Wells Fargo, 63rd at the PGA Championship. But just based on this field, his skills, I gotta give him a look. And I haven't seen his ownership. Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
For Noren?
Yeah, or no, for Cam Young. Sorry, for Cam Young.
I think he's going to get squeezed a lot.
Has to.
I'll check what we have it at right now.
Yeah. Anyhow, Corey Connors, I always love Corey Connors, 9,500. I mean, he hasn't bust through with like a great finish, but it hasn't been bad. I mean, dating back, we'll go to the Arnold Palmer, 18th, 13th, 25th, 38th, 44th, 13th, 26th. He's playing, and he plays in all the strong field events. Now he gets a weaker field event at 9,500. Like, I'm definitely interested in Connors. Sam Burns, I don't fucking know, man. We in honor of our guy D-Gen, throw a little F-bomb out there. Like, I don't fucking know with Sam Burns. Like, who is this guy? What is he? Like, what's his skill set? Like, is he good? Is he bad? I just don't know. He's missed 3 out of his last 5 cuts, 44th at the RBC Heritage, Wells Fargo 13th. I can't figure it out. I'll be tossed. Huh?
Newborn at home as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe it complicated. I'll toss him in with Shane Lowry. If he beats me, he beats me. Always love my boy Mav McNeely. He's been playing some really good golf. Price tag is up there now at 92. Adam Scott, I think, is a good play. So this is a very clear range for me. There's no keeper cut or any guys that I don't really feel strongly about. I know what I'm doing here, and definitely not playing Sam Burns.
Okay, well, what's the F counter up to now? That's got to be at least 2 or 3, Billy.
There's 2, yeah.
We can catch him up on that. Monday says Cam Young this. I will say that's the one I don't know on, because I know Noren got some. I know Connor's got some. I wonder if Young and Burns just get mentioned but not clicked. I've talked about this forever, and I will say one that I think gets steamed up a little just from projection sites out there might be Mav McNeely. So then that has to take a little bit away. So I always kind of like my guy Adam Scott. Everyone's made fun of it forever now, but it still keeps rolling. Now, here's an example. Aaron Rye, who's super popular this week and also on paper for good reason. But realistically, you look at Aaron Rye, 32nd at the same tournament Scott just came 12th at, 39th, 4th, a missed cut. Scott's been 58th, missed cut. Scott's been 29th, 30th, 22nd, 14th. He's actually shown multiple top 15s now. And again, he's grinding. He's got to get in the top 60. Adam Scott has never missed a major since 2001, when he was like 20 years old on tour, coming off the Euro Tour, everything like that. And he is out grinding to get back to the top 60. And just last week came 12th. So again, 9K, I'm fine with him. He's right there. If Mav gets steamed a little, and we know Rye's getting ownership, and we know Tom Kim is getting ownership, and he's got the broomstick, don't forget about the broomstick, then Adam Scott interests me regardless. You could do a lot of different things with Adam Scott in your lineups. There's tons of ways to use him at 9K. It's a bit for Adam Scott, but it's still pretty, when you think about Adam Scott and look at those numbers I just rang off, it's better than Thigala's run, even though Thigala did have a second place in there. Other than that, Adam Scott's got the 12th and the 14th. He's just, a few spots off that one and better other finishes in same and similar events. If you look at Fleetwood, the difference is Fleetwood's thrown in the 7th and the 3rd, but other than that, it's a 49th, a 26th, and a 13th. Like, this guy to me is fine, and at least he's not 10-5 or 10-3. Then it's ludicrous. At 9K, maybe a little steep still, but I always play a little bit of Adam Scott, so I can go to him. I'd go Cam Young over Burns. I'd go Connors, but man, he's going to be owned too. So I really like Noren, Connors, Adam Scott. Adam Scott's my favorite though in that range. So mixing those guys up. Any thoughts on skipping the 10K and above range and just starting with Noren? Is that, do you think, the most popular balance build if people are skipping the top?
I mean, I'm good with it just because I like a lot of these guys in the 9K range. I haven't messed around too much, but you like Scott. Let's see. I like McNeely always, and I like Corey Connors. Adam Scott, McNeely, Corey Connors. You still have $7,400, like over $7,400 per spot. Like, you can build a very safe team with a lot of upside. So for me personally, if I'm avoiding Rory teams, I think I would just prefer to come down here and get like probably 3 9K guys and go from there. And it doesn't have to start with Noren. It can come down to some of these guys in the lower 9K range, where you can obviously also include Noren. I just view these guys in the 9K range with similar upside to like Thigala and Fleetwood, to be honest with you. So I don't know. When I go to build teams, I'll see how much I end up getting of Thigala and Fleetwood. But like, if I'm not playing a Rory team, I probably prefer to get 3 guys down here that I think have a chance to compete and win this week.
Yeah, and if you're fading Rory, like, that's where you could go a little heavy in this range. Like, Connors still stands out too, because you mentioned like the Noren run, but Connors isn't that much different. 26th, 13th, 11 was the team event, but 44th, 35th, 25th, 13th, 18th. These are all top 20s. So Scott, Connors, I mean, it's going to come down to the putter. He can hit these greens. We know how he does that. He's accurate off the tee. He can find the green. It just comes down to that. But if he's hitting greens, then at least we should hopefully, I'll say at least, we hopefully should get the pars and then make up the birdies on the other spots, versus some people will be missing and then making bogeys on those. So I just think it's at least somewhat interesting, but he does feel like there's a little bit more ownership to him there. Let's move on. Let's go to this 8K range. No keeper cut in the 9s, you said, right?
No, just I know what I'm doing there. Yeah.
All right.
Very clear.
This 8K range, then we got 8 guys instead of 6, and you got Nick Taylor, last year's amazing winner at the end there, that big 58-foot putter, whatever it was, over Tommy Fleetwood in a playoff, up to Aaron Rye, who we already mentioned a little bit here as well.
Yeah, Aaron Rye's a guy that I know a lot of people like, and it looks like the ownership's coming in probably at a relatively high number, I'm assuming. Again, I haven't looked deep into ownership or anything this week, but I don't know, man. I'm not fully sold on him. So he is actually the keeper cut. He's the guy I wrote down at 8,900, Aaron Rye. I have a feeling most people are going to say keep, but man, I'm not fully sold on him just because I really like the guys above him. And I think I like the guys below him better, like Keith Mitchell at 87, Tom Kim at 86. I do like Tom Kim. He was playing awful and then, goes off and shoots at 66 in round 4 at the Masters. And he's been pretty solid since. Hasn't missed a cut, has an 18th, a couple mid-20 finishes. And he's another guy that tends to play in some of these stronger field events. So this event, like I could see him having some success. Hadwin and Hughes, maybe. Our guy Rin, I mean, EVR's back in the field, so his pants are off somewhere. But man, I don't know if I'm getting to EVR at 82. Batia, I just got to play. I mean, the last couple weeks have not been great. Missed 2 cuts, but talked about all season. I just want to be on Batia, man. I think there's a lot of upside with this kid, and 81, I'll take a chance. I mean, it's lower than the average roster spot on DraftKings. Then Nick Taylor at 8K. Things have not been going well for him at all. But I just feel like there's something special here, and I can't fully fade Nick Taylor at this event. So Rise the keeper cut. I feel good with Mitchell, Kim, Batia, Taylor. Obviously haven't been great lately, but I'll give them a couple licks for sure.
I never believe in this either. Like people always say this, he's only good in the rain. The 2 gloves, he wears them no matter what. I was with him, walking with him at 3M last year. It was hottest tournament I've ever been at out there. Like it was 100 degrees or something. He's out there doing his thing. So I'm fine with Aaron Rye. I just don't think it has anything to do with the weather. The 2 gloves is more of a joke because he wears 2 gloves, but he is the most annoying guy to track and go off of because he misses greens. And then it's his around the green play is usually awesome, but you got to sweat every 4 to 6 footer. It's, Aaron Rye for 7 feet. Nice. What's it for? Par. And then you need that to go and then you start to see him. So I still like him. I always take chances on him, but I like your guy near the bottom much more, Akshay Bhatia, where at 8,100, it's what you said. We've been on him all season for this reason. I'm going to stick with it. Besides the recent stuff, 18th, 35th, 11th, 17th, the win. It's the upside you can get out of him. And when you get the price tag of 8,100, that just makes it seem a little bit better for me. So some other guys there, like looking at what I'm seeing overlooked is like Hadwin, Hughes, EVR, Nick Taylor. Those guys just can't get much love in here. But Mitchell, and Akshay seem to be like sort of somewhere stuck in the middle where Ryan Kim will be the ones that get the boost. So a lot of these guys will be 15% or less. The other guys that I mentioned, like Hadwin, Hughes, EVR, Nick Taylor, just have to get squeezed. So there's a lot you can do in the 8K range, but it really depends on what you think of this upper 7K range hoop, because they cut the 7K range down to 16 guys, but I think it's still people are more comfortable with some of these guys. Davis Thompson, Hubbard, Pendrith, Griffin, Gim, all these guys. So who was the keeper cut that you want me to throw up for that last range again?
Aaron Rye. Yeah, I think people are going to want to keep him, but I don't know. I'm not fully sold on Aaron Rye for the reason you kind of mentioned with like the Adam Scott. Adam Scott's $100 more than Rye, and man, it's just the results are just so much better, and he's such a better golfer. So obviously you can play both, but I'm not fully sold on Rye. Upper sevens, 7,900 Hubbard. It goes without saying I'll be playing Hubbard. He still has not missed a cut this season. He tends to play better in some of these weaker field events because of how well he's played recently. He's gotten into some of these stronger field events, but in the weaker field stuff, that's where Hubbard can excel. Davis Thompson, top 18 or better in 3 out of the last 4. A couple shitty events though. I mean, the Punta Cana and the Myrtle Beach in there, but did have the 17th at the Charles Schwab. So 7,800. I think he's a great option. Berger at 77. I'll play some of him. Pendrith 76. Definitely a guy I want some exposure to. I believe he missed the cut on the number at the PGA Championship, but prior to that, had the win. 10th at the Wells Fargo, 11th at another event. So I think he's a fine option. And, in terms of the upper sevens, are we going the full sevens or just the uppers?
Yeah, you can go the full. There's only 16 guys in here anyway.
Yeah. Doug Gim at 74. I noticed his win odds were pretty solid over on DraftKings. He was, I want to say like 60 to 1, 65 to 1 on DraftKings, which That's a pretty good number for a guy at 7,400. Svensson at 73 playing solid golf. Ryan Fox, I think, is somewhat interesting. Seamus Powers kind of turned into one of those guys when he makes the cut. The results have been solid, 26th, 12th, 16th. There's been a miscut in between all those finishes. So I guess kind of boom or bust, but when he makes the cut, the finishes have been solid. And if he comes out and gets a 16th this week at 7,200, you might just need him to win. So interested there. And then Bobby Mack at 71, I'll take a chance on. Rio, 7K, take a chance on him. So a lot of different ways to go. The top upper sevens, I think, look real solid this week.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys in here. This is where you're going to be sprinkling around. It does look so. Just looking off our stuff, it's going to be – what's that?
Looks like a lot of cuts for Aaron Rye.
Yeah, people want to cut him for sure. That's the other thing. So Austin brings this up. I was going to talk about this. I didn't even see that, but I was going to say about Rio is that he is going like completely boom or bust. Miscut 18th, miscut 13th, miscut 33rd, miscut 18th. Like he is always boom or bust. So that's why you're going to fit those guys into your pool. But I definitely think there's some other guys in here too. Like you can play Hubbard, you can play Pendrith, who you talked about. There's, just other options. But I wanted to see with our ownership here. So Thompson really getting steamed up. Pendrith a little bit, Doug Gim a little bit. After that, you can pretty much pick your poison from these guys. I mean, all the other ones look decent. If you want to take another shot on a guy like Seamus Power, or if you want to go down to the bottom and, some Bo Hostler or something like that, I could see where usually people play them and now nobody is. Berger stands out a little bit at 7,700 as just a guy that you could pivot off Thompson there, that he was probably going to be more expensive if he continues to find something this year. But, it's been nothing crazy, but 13, 36, and 45th, showing signs and flashes, I should say, with the stats. But, yeah, I don't know, if you want to be heavy on any of these other guys here, but, you're going to be sprinkling them. And meaning like Davis Thompson, he's 7,800. Cash lineups, a guy to work at 7,800, it makes perfect sense. But there's other guys above and below that you can get to. So I kind of like the lower end of this range. Something about Kevin Yu stood out too. I forget what it was. Mayo and I were looking at him today, but he's kind of been boom bust as well, 7,500. But I don't know, man. Pendrith kind of stands out there. And then going down from there, maybe Hisatsune with his boom bust, like Akshay Bhatia for cheaper. I kind of like mixing some of those guys in as well. Anybody else in this 7K range you want to talk about? If not, we can move to the sixes.
Yeah, the sixes. I mean, this is what it has to be 60 to 70% of the field is 6K and below, which, I don't know. The pricing, it is frustrating. So many guys down here. I'm just going to rattle off, in the 6K range, the guys that I have some potential interest in. Eric Cole at 68 it's been a rough season for him. I think a lot of people had high hopes. But he has not done anything recently. It does look like a lot of maybe missed cuts, like right on the number, like Charles Schwab. No, he's 3 over, but PGA Championship, he's relatively close. Cole's maybe Cole. SH Kim 6,800, I think is interesting. Chan Kim 66. We talked about Messner at 65. Ben Silverman 65, and again had the good finish last week. But prior to that, he had the 16th at the Myrtle Beach, which obviously weak field event, but at 65, Canadian guy, I'm going to be keeping him in my player pool. Justin Lauer at 64, I think is a play. Patton Kazire at 63, quietly been playing good. Again, all these finishes are in bad weak fields, which is kind of what we have this week, but 23rd at the Punta Cana, 24th at the CJ Cup. And then, 10th at the Myrtle Beach Classic. 6,300. I'll take a chance on him for sure. Gary Woodland at 62 has been making cuts, but the results have been very, very poor. The one thing about Gary Woodland is a lot of his made cuts, bad finishes have been at weaker or at stronger field events. At this weaker field event, can he make a cut and improve one of those finishes, get into the top 30, top 20? I think he has a chance, and I have not played Woodland, I don't think, at all this year. Like, he has not been on my radar. Coming down a little bit more, low sixes. I'm not seeing too much. Maybe one of the Cootie brother here is 6K. Maybe take a chance on him. It starts to fall off like very, very quickly. So Yeah, those are a few guys in the 6K range.
Yeah, pick your poison. Like you said, I think Ben Silverman, just going back to the well, I know he had to chip in to get it done, but even before that, he is Canadian. Another angle to go there. Grayson Sigg, 13th and a 9th before this miscut. And so, you go to someone like him. I think Kevin Tway was playing some really good golf, still came 24th last week. And for whatever reason, I don't really see the ownership translating there. It looks like he's only going to be around, 4% or something. So yeah, you can get away with Kevin Tway there. He's actually got 3rd, 9th, and then 24th last week, and other made cuts in between, even the team event, but 9th, 43rd, 24th. Like he's got some other good finishes. SH Kim can be solid at times. Showed flashes last week and then disappeared over the weekend. Old Man Kuchar, 17th last week. Maybe go there. It's not like I'm playing all these, but just to make some notes on some of them. Mayo was selling me on Grayson Sigg. You go back to him. Sorry, not Grayson Sigg. Bryce Garnett won way back when, a little while ago now, but a 35th and an 18th with an 11th.
I'm in on Garnett. What's his price?
61.
I forgot about that. 61. Yeah, in on Garnett. He's definitely my favorite in the lower 6K range is Garnett.
And I think you mentioned, but Patton Kazire, a 23rd, 24th, and a 10th, 28th at the team event. He was another guy that showed up there. So there's 5 or 6 guys that you could make a case for here. And that's why it's tough when you see my boy Mac getting the love. I was on him last week when he was 1% or 2%, nothing like that. And then you go from there. So, just gotta pick your spots, but might not be, crazy to go to him, but you got to build differently. So that's all I would have in the 6K range. I will say with Eric Cole, it is interesting. Like things are starting to line up, but before those missed cuts, Alex and I looked at them at the start of the week. They were very close, mostly on the number. He played well at last year's RBC Canadian Open, different course, but still. And then just, can he find that flash that he once had? Obviously, he can fit a different style course, and this would be a course that he would fit, I think. So let's keep it moving. Let's go to this 5K range. Who do you want to talk about down here? Who?
Yeah, there's options. I mean, obviously, very risky when you come down here. I mean, they're 5K for a reason. So, know what you're getting into when you play these guys. But a couple names that stand out to me. Carson Young, 5,900. Potentially have him in the player pool. He's had a couple 30-place finishes, 2 out of the last 3. Our guy Troy Merritt, he has made 4 cuts in a row. Again, weaker field events, but at 5,800, can he make a cut and get into the top 30? And I think he can. I mean, is it likely? No, hell no, it's not likely that Troy Merritt does that. But can it happen? I think it can for Merritt. Robbie Shelton, 57. I think very strong option this week. Matthew Neesmith, 5,700. I think he could honestly be in the 6K range, but he's sitting at 57, coming off a 24th last week at the Charles Schwab. So again, solid option there. Coming down a little lower, gets risky. Hayden Buckley at 5,500 has flashed some upside over the course of his career. 5,500, somewhat interested. Lipsky at 54. Moderate interest. Austin Cook, 54, moderate interest. Again, these are not slam dunk plays, risky plays. Definitely cap your exposure on these guys down here, but those are 7, 8, 9 guys that I'm interested in 5K range. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to play these guys. We'll see when I go to build teams, but I will be capping it for sure.
And taking shots on these guys, right? Like you talked about it already, but some of these guys, like you mentioned with Neesmith or a Chandler Phillips for me, up at the top there, coming off a 12th place. I'm kind of looking for guys more in form right now. And you look at Troy Merritt, my guy, fits the flow chart. Not the greatest result last week, but again, a 9th and a 40th before that. The field's a little bit stronger than he was in last week, not so much, but just in general. You talk about Robbie Shelton, 9th and 26th, his last 2. He's a guy I could go to here. Down the board, though, it cuts off quickly, and not as many people like Lipsky. Last week, one good week. Mayo and I were talking about him today. I'm not sure if he'll be someone I get to outside of those Mayo builds. That's the ones that I do on the show, because it's just you're kind of chasing the 1 week versus what we've seen from some of these other guys. It's not much, though, and I will say, I looked up the numbers. 40 guys in the 6K range, 77 in it. So for our guy Aaron here, my boy, no, we don't need it. You can do it, and I think that's good. I like what you're saying. You got your 3 or 4 guys, run them, but
yeah. It is interesting. Like people like to bitch about the no cut events, and they hate it for PGA DFS. But like these sort of fields are worse than no cut events because you're immediately eliminating like I don't know 80 guys right off the bat. Like you know what I'm saying? So it's like those signature events where there's 80 guys in, but a lot of the guys are somewhat playable. Here, like you're eliminating probably 70% of the field without doing anything.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say I do like Aaron's point though. Like you said, maybe these guys. Yeah, it's a maybe. And then if you're there, I like what you're doing. You're picking your 3 to 5, right? Maybe Neesmith I put in there too. But you're kind of picking your spot. Go Collect says Troy Merritt and Carson Young. So it's the Merritt flow chart for sure. I'm guessing he's speaking about Carson Young flow chart. Is Carson Young playing? Yes. Is Cam Young also playing? Yes. Will Carson Young tilt your Cam Young exposure, finishing higher than him and being up the shot tracker board? Mind you, they did fix that on the app because that was always the case when it was just C.Young. And so that is something that's noteworthy that you will know if it's Carson or Cam. I believe he's Car.Young now. So you got to check that out on your app. But yeah, I like the calls here that everybody's talking about. I don't have anything else to add down here in this range. Anything else you want to mention, Hoop, for this week or any other stuff that you want to touch on, Ship It Nation-wise?
Yeah, in terms of this week, anyone else that's listening that is a member over at Ship It Nation or a viewer of this show, week in and week out, wish you the best of luck if you're in that contest. Hopefully we can get a lot of the Ship It Nation logos through this week and then grind our asses off and get to the actual live final here in my hometown for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Would be a lot of fun. So good luck to everyone out there. You got the pricing up. And like I said, man, like we have our stuff priced so cheap where if you want to come and just take a look and see what it's all about, you can do it and not feel bad, not feel like you're getting ripped off. I talked about a ton of the opening. The number one player in our course fit ranking model last week that our guy Lee Aldrich does. Number one guy was Davis Riley. Davis Riley went out and won the event. And this is not a one-off situation either, like you talked about. He had Akshay Bhatia the week he won as the number one golfer. Lee does a phenomenal job. He's on to something here. His stuff is so good. It comes out so early. You just come and take a look for a relatively cheap price, and we feel very confident in the product that we built. You're going to come, you're going to look, and you're going to stay and be able to benefit from it. It's not just about, coming in and becoming a member. We really feel you're going to benefit from the content that we offer. PGA stuff has been on point. We talked about Lee's stuff a lot, but man, so much more to offer. We got the stone, we got the projections, we got the ownership, core plays, my player pool, your full slate plan, what you're doing, building your teams at a very, very affordable rate. Just the best value in the industry. So come on over, give it a look. We feel very confident that you'll be staying for a while.
Yeah, shout out to our guy Lee. Another thing too, if you guys don't know, you can go on PGA because we didn't make the likes. That's okay. We'll get it on the replay. Other people will hit it up for next time. But and it's a little bit of a slower week with it just being the Canadian Open. But Value Report is free. So if you're not a member and you still want to check out stuff on the site, that Value Report is free. It does have our number one player in the course fit rankings this week. So you can go check that out. Also, I forgot, this is still active. Lee 10. Give our guy Lee some love. If you go over here and use Lee 10 for the monthly or the annual, you will get 10% off. So you can actually get it right now for $33 for the monthly. Get the projections, the ownership, the stone for Classic and Showdown. Get Lee's full course fit rankings. Get the tier, the core, the value, all that stuff. But then remember, too, right now, you get Shiptimizer DFS free for a limited time. That's with monthly or more memberships where you get the optimizer to use for all this stuff as well. So $33. A lot of sites are charging $25 just to use the optimizer for the month. So you can get $33 and include all of it. So it's going to be good. We've got other majors coming up. Shout out to Jordan. Like he said, we've got the majors. Right now is a good time to join. RBC Canadian Open, Memorial's a signature, US Open's a major, and Travelers is a signature. You're going to get 3 and this week. Really good weeks. So check it out. Go join the nation if you haven't done so already. For all our members out there that are in the Fantasy Golf World Championship this week, good luck to you. Hopefully, like Hoop said, we can get it all the way there to Michigan. I'll be there. Hoop will be there. We'll be having some fun. Hopefully, we're there with a team in check, but I'm going down regardless. So I'm going to be at the Rocket Mortgage Classic with my guy Hoop and maybe others. Maybe others. Let's just say that. So should be a good time. Thank you guys all so much for watching. That's going to do it for this one. For Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.